I have an opening bit.
Okay.
Playing some Overwatch.
That's you. I was playing some games.
Well, no, because I did, all those game design changes they made, and I did ranked matches in the new system, and it's interesting to see how the culture is. Okay. Pause that. People are watching. We're good. It's Tuesday, February 25th, 2020. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, Randomizers. Like all of them. We are at the end of a surprisingly long, dense convention season for Geek Nights, like way more than usual.
Oh, because some convention, you had PAX West in Seattle is normal on Labor Day.
Yep, but then like all the other conventions just converge into like one a month for a very...
mostly because PAX East is early.
PAX East was early, and then we have Unplugged like around like...
Well, because Unplugged and South are, basically on top of each other.
Yep. And also, MagFest was early relative to when MagFest
South
has
and
been in the
MagFest
past.
are even more on top of each other.
Yep. I worry next year South and MagFest might actually overlap.
No, because MagFest is later, and it's not New Year's, but it's also not MLK Day, which is when South pretty much always is.
Yeah, I got to check
South is MLK Day as often as West is Labor Day. So
yeah,
as long
not guaranteed.
No, but it's as long as, MagFest is not MLK Day, I'm pretty safe with South not overlapping it directly.
But what this means is I haven't been playing all the kinds of games that I normally play because I've been really busy. Just my life has been busy. So I've been mostly playing, like if I play Overwatch, I play in the arcade, like RNG mode. I play like Slay the Spire on the Train or Ganshan Clever or Doppel Clever. I can't get above 200 in Ganshan Clever 2. Like,
where did you even get Ganshan Clever 2?
It's just on Android. It's been on Android forever.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
No, okay.
I have both of them.
Okay.
They were like $1.50. Like they were. I can reliably, like my average in Ganshan Clever is like 270, 280. Like I can get that really reliably.
Oh, there it is. Twice as clever. $3.
Twice as clever. 187 is the highest score I've ever been able to achieve so far. That game is really hard.
Yeah. Now, someone posted a thing online that was like, "This is how to get the maximum score at the first one. Here's a little graphic." And
ooh, what did he say?
Luck is the rest. But
yeah, luck is the rest. Because I did start penciling in. What if I could choose my roles? Yeah, you can make a full web game. Like if you just roll right, you can have a ridiculously high score.
Anyway,
but I do have a very specific strategy that will reliably, like 90% of the time, get me well over 200, no matter what, even with really bad rolls. So I basically only play that strategy. I did try alternate strategies, and I did some like math plotting. Like, is there a way? Because the game comes down to, both those games I realized come down to the economy of how many dice can you score?
Yep.
And anything you can do to score one more die somehow without like sacrificing something fundamental is just how you get your score up.
Yep.
And other than that, it's just luck mitigation like Yahtzee.
Yep.
I like these games a lot. So there is actually a lot of big news. As you know, PAX East is this week. Like, we're not going to do a show on Thursday because we will already have had most of our first day of PAX by the time we'd normally record Geek Nights.
Yep, but maybe, the internet's good at PAX East. I might experiment with some, posting some content from PAX East.
Yeah.
With their high-quality Wi-Fi that is in the convention center.
But we're going to do it low-rent style.
Follow us at every single place that we exist to see if that happens.
Like, I'm not bringing microphones or video equipment, or like, I'm not bringing the usual kit.
No.
My bag has mostly board games in it.
Yep.
But the big news is, pretty recently, Sony just outright said they're giving up on PAX East. They're completely pulling out. They will have zero presence
there.
there.
So if you looked at the map of the expo hall previously, there were these two giant blocks and one kind of normal block under the stairs.
Because they had some big announcements, and they were really hyping.
They all said PlayStation on them, and then it's like, well, we're pulling out. And now the expo hall map has changed, and none of those PlayStation things are there. And now the aisles in the front of the expo hall where the mega booths are, not the indie mega booth, the actual industry mega booths, right, are much more widely aisled.
Because there is no way to fill in a gap like that at a con like PAX at the last minute.
With a week's notice. Hey, anyone want to buy a giant expensive booth with like a week's notice and be able to bring everything necessary to fill that space? It's like, no.
Like it was and what's interesting is while there is the coronavirus global issue, there was no precipitating news in the U.S. of any kind about this.
Right. It's strange how if you look at coronavirus stuff just around the world in general, right, what we see is pretty much very few places, or at least very new. I guess it's not newsworthy when someone handles it correctly. Every single news story you see is either about someone not doing enough or showing doing too much, right? So there
aren't really any places doing too much, though.
No. So, for example, right, you have like Japan not checking the doctors who are on the boats taking care of people, even though the doctor in China, they're like, oh, doctors know what to do. They won't have it. We don't need to test them. Except the doctor who discovered it died of it already. Right?
Yeah, but what I can say,
and then you have situations like this where PlayStation, Sony is like, we're pulling out, and it's like Boston is perfectly safe. There is no reason for you to do that.
It's not because of travel to Boston. That's it. The fact that it's in Boston literally does not matter at all. It would not matter what city on earth the event is in. Because I know Facebook has also pulled out of PAX East, meaning Oculus has pulled out of PAX East, meaning another area they normally run is now empty, and PAX is scrambling to fill it in the VR space. I work in capital markets as my day job, and generally global companies around the entire world, regardless of where they are, have drastically curtailed any official travel by employees to events of any kind. No big gatherings of people anywhere, and the main reason is, while the risk is relatively low, because it's a global issue and because it spreads so easily, the issue is every major convention or like industry event where a lot of people go, especially events that draw people from a broad area or an international place or that are just very dense, are a significant increased risk relative to normal times. So
it's still, it would make sense if the convention was, somewhere.
No, like I just said,
dangerous.
It literally doesn't matter. It's probably no more dangerous to have it in a city where there are more cases than in a city like Boston. That is not part of the equation.
Moronic level of caution to the point where it's like one of those people who's like, wearing gloves and walking around in a bubble. It's like, they look like idiots taking too much.
I don't think you know anything about this.
Taking too much caution is just as stupid as being not enough caution.
This doesn't cost Sony
too much caution.
It does not cost Sony anything.
Oh no, it doesn't cost them anything. It's just still really stupidly too cautious for no reason. It makes them look stupid.
No, I don't think it actually does.
The same way someone who's taking too much caution in any area of life looks stupid, like someone wearing 10 helmets and like wrapping foam around their body.
The other reason why companies pull out of this stuff is that the people that they normally send to events, because I'm speaking broadly, like a lot of events globally have been canceled, and a lot of companies have put the
overabundance of caution.
No, I think it's an adequate amount of caution.
I think it's overabundance of caution, depending on the case by case.
No, because these are all also events where the people that companies send. I'm not talking about you and me as like PAX attendees, but companies. It tends to be a relatively small set of people who go to all the events and travel a lot. The danger is that super spreader situation of people from a company go to one convention, then another one, then another one, then another one.
If they just don't travel to a place that there's a lot of virus,
I just said that's not part of the equation. You don't know shit about this. You're just talking out of your ass.
Yeah, no. If it was a real danger, then PAX should just not happen. If the PAX, if it's not dangerous,
did I not just say there's no significant danger to the attendees? The danger is to the company itself.
If there's no danger to the attendees, then there's no danger to attendees who happen to work for a company.
So you don't understand anything about like threat profiles or
it should be canceled because it's not safe to be there. It's either safe to be there or it isn't.
That's like really ridiculous, reductive bullshit baby thinking, to be really blunt about it.
Common sense.
Like, no, it's not.
Yes, it is. If it's not safe to be there, no, we shouldn't have the event. If it is safe to be there, then it's safe for any human being to be there.
That's all right. I think you're stupid on this. Like,
I think Sony is stupid. They look like little babies who are like, oh, we're so afraid we're going to hide from the world.
So you clearly didn't listen to any words I said about
I'm saying the words you said were wrong and stupid. And
okay.
If you're so afraid, why are you going? Maybe you shouldn't be going to PAX. You work for a company. Why isn't your company preventing you from going?
Most of our
if it's
business
so
travel
correct?
has been canceled.
Well, how come they're not preventing you? They should, by that logic, they should prevent you from going east.
Well, because I am not part of a small team that travels to a lot of places on behalf of the company in a short span of time. Also, I am banned from traveling to a bunch of specific places for the foreseeable future.
Well, that is common sense. I think
But that's
everyone should be banned from going
but
to
I don't
these
think you
specific
understand the
places
difference
where the
between
virus is prevalent.
I don't think you understand the basic difference between a generalized threat profile versus like a more specific one. Like you just don't know anything about this space and you're talking out of your ass. You're like being the epitome of the white dude explaining something you don't know anything about.
I mean, I don't even care if Sony goes or not. The point is, they just look really stupid.
I don't
Being
think
over
they do.
Nintendo's not pulling out. Nintendo's showing up just fine. They don't seem to give a shit. They're a Japanese company. How come Nintendo's not pulling out? Are they stupid? You're saying Nintendo shouldn't go?
So
because Sony's all smart? Is that what you're saying?
the difference is probably, I mean, I don't know the details of the marketing teams in these different companies.
Microsoft's
but
going. They're not pulling out.
yeah, but again, like I said, I don't know the differences between the marketing teams. I don't work for any of these companies, but some companies have a central team that goes all around the world to do this stuff. And some companies have regional specific teams. And if you have purely like regional specific, it's a lot safer to like, you don't have to worry about this stuff nearly as much. So if you have an entirely US staff that moves entirely to a US location, that's much less of a threat vector than a team that travels to the US to do the thing, then travels to another like third country to do the thing.
As long as you don't travel to one of the countries where the disease is all over, it's not a problem.
You realize the US has like the third most cases. And there were cases in Boston, so if you want to go on that
I do not
road.
think there were. I did not see any.
Yeah, there were two. What news are you read? I have access to like real, like live industry data about this. I can pull it up right now if you want to see it.
Anyway, let us move on to the next news.
So what's interesting about this, though, is that from the PAX perspective, it's a blow in the sense that a lot of the people who go to cons like PAX, they're really only there for the expo hall. Like, I think that's a waste. That's something that I think is stupid. Like, attendees.
Well, we've always said that that's stupid.
But the kinds of people who only go to an expo hall are the kinds of people who really want to play, like, the game that Sony's been hyping up for months, saying, we're going to have it at PAX, you can play it. And they're the kinds of people who don't read websites and will not know that Sony is not there. I really feel for the poor enforcers who are going to be standing in the area where Sony was going to be, having to explain to a lot of really angry and dense nerds why Sony isn't there. Like, that is going to be an interesting thing to see play out. I'm curious how many people will, like, just not know Sony pulled out and show up and be mad about it. The other interesting thing that happened is that the mayor of Boston, like,
agrees with me.
Well, not really, because one, what he said, like, he's getting a lot of flack for the kind of bullshitty thing he said about this, because he accused an Asian-owned company.
Well, that's true.
Like, his whole letter is basically, this plays into Asian stereotypes.
Yep.
And, like, the response from Sony
Well,
and
there
everyone
is
was
mad
like,
racism going on.
who do you think owns us? What's your point? Like, so the mayor of Boston even sent a letter to the CEO of Sony, like, mad at him for having the company pull out of the event. I don't think the mayor of Boston understands that much about this. The only interesting point about that is that the mayor of Boston cares that much about PAX.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't understand, right? Is
I think PAX is a
PAX
huge...
does not lose, right? You know, forget about whether they should or they shouldn't.
Well,
or whether
cities don't understand how convention centers work.
Right, but here's the thing is that PAX doesn't make or lose money whether Sony shows up or not. There's tons of giant video game companies who aren't coming that used to come, right? And it's like PAX sold out with or without them. Right? PAX used to not selling less tickets because PlayStation pulls out. They're not going to sell less tickets next year because Boston makes the same money off PAX pretty much no matter who shows up, unless like
no, it's even worse.
Unless like the whole industry pulls out and there's basically like a barren expo hall,
which
right?
could happen because a lot more companies are planning to pull out of GDC probably.
Well, GDC, yeah. I don't know why they're pulling out either, but, you know.
Well, GDC actually has an even worse threat profile because GDC doesn't have, like, normal attendees as much as it has, like, reps from the marketing teams of all these international companies all showing up and doing a bunch of meetings together.
Well, it has way less people, though.
Yeah, but I would consider GDC to probably be a worse threat vector for this particular kind of illness.
All right, pandemic expert Rim over here.
I mean, I was the chief risk officer of a company for a while. Like,
Sure.
am formally trained in risk assessment.
Yes.
Like,
Okay.
yes, that is true.
Uh-huh.
That literally is true. That's part of my job.
Uh-huh.
But you don't believe me? You don't
Yes,
believe
the
me?
government is calling up Rim. What should we do about the coronavirus? It's such an expert.
Why would the government call me? I'm not a government official. I did that for a company.
Yeah, okay. No one's calling you for help. You are not the
No,
expert
my
on
company
this.
paid me to do this. Scott.
Uh-huh. Oh, someone paid you. Therefore, you're an expert.
Yeah,
and you know
I got
everything to
training.
be done,
I
and
did-
therefore, you're right. Someone pays you money. Therefore, you're right. Okay.
No, all I'm saying is that I am a professional risk assessment
So
person.
all that means is someone paid you money. That's all that's required to be
Yeah.
a professional is to have someone pay you money. That gives you no credentials whatsoever. Someone could pay me to
Okay.
wash their car. Doesn't mean I'm a car washing expert.
So
I
you
can
don't trust
suck at washing
doctors?
cars.
Doctors aren't. You don't trust a doctor?
Not because they're paid.
So what? Why do you trust a doctor then?
Because a doctor went to medical school for a zillion fucking years and worked their ass off. Did you go and study virus spreading or whatever, in school for 8 to 10
Scott,
years?
I learned generalized corporate risk assessment. That's a very different
So you know
thing.
nothing about viruses.
No,
so
viruses
you're
are
unqualified to
You don't,
comment
because
on
you don't
this.
need to know. You can just read data about this. Like there's data feeds.
Oh
about
man,
the
if reading data
coronavirus.
just made me know everything and be an expert instead of studying something
God,
for a long
You
time.
realize
man.
what you learn in risk assessment are like how to interpret data about risk to figure out what the actual real threat is to your particular domain or your particular company, and then make decisions based on that. Like that's what that is. That's a job.
Yeah,
It's a job
but
a lot
if
of
it's a
people do.
medical risk, I'm going to contact a medical person, not just some rim who read a data.
I don't think you know what risk officers do in companies or who they are.
Yeah, I know who they are. People like Rim who think they know what they don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know. That's why I got trained in it.
So your training is equivalent to the training of an expert who went to school for a very long time.
Most people don't go to school for a very long time. For
Doctors do.
risk
You said, why do I
assessment.
trust doctors?
Yeah, there's a lot of shitty
Are
med
you a
schools.
doctor? No. So if you have something to say about viruses,
I mean, if you want to be anti-intellectual and weird, you can.
you're the one who's claiming to know something.
Yes, I do know about risk assessment.
Okay.
Okay.
Coronavirus Rim, everybody.
I
The
didn't say
expert.
I'm an expert in coronavirus. I'm an
Uh-huh.
expert in corporate risk assessment, specifically pandemics and epidemics are one of the things.
So you're an expert on pandemics, huh?
No, in the specific and narrow domain
Uh-huh.
of corporate risk assessment.
Okay.
I had to draft a plan on what to. In fact, right now, because there's a global, the entire finance industry, everyone's pulled out their BCP plans for these kinds of epidemics, and they're set like everything's set up in case where everyone has to do the pandemic procedure. There's a pandemic procedure. There's a button someone could hit, and then me and everyone in the company that I work for now, where I don't plan this, but I trust the people who are paid to do it. They will they'll hit a button, and then I have to follow a procedure where I'm not allowed to go to work and I have to work from home, and there's all these things I have to do, and everyone in the company has a different playbook.
If there's a button, you should find that button in the office and push it so you don't have to go to work.
Yeah, it's some keys on a keyboard.
No.
I'd still have to work from home. I don't get to just not work. I don't actually need to go to the office to do a lot.
Well, push the button, I'm telling you.
But
if there was such a button, I'd be pushing that
The
button
other
every
thing
day.
the mayor might have been mad about is reputational risk to Boston and the fact that the news said, oh, big company won't travel to Boston. But if that's actually what the mayor of Boston is mad about, the mayor of Boston doesn't seem to actually understand how companies work or how events work.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I don't think that hurts the reputation of Boston, right? It's like people think there's they make up a consequence.
So
it's like
there is
in their own mind, they think they've been slighted, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?"
So
are you
Scott,
talking
you
about?
realize though there has been in the last month a drastic downturn in tourism and visiting revenue in every major city on earth, basically, entirely because of coronavirus.
Oh yeah,
People aren't traveling
because
as much.
people are paranoid and traveling less, sometimes with good reason, sometimes not with good reason.
Yeah, people are traveling less. They're spending less eating at restaurants, and that's it. But
of course.
But the real danger.
Sometimes for racist reasons.
Yeah, pretty rarely. It seems like it's mostly just generalized caution, coupled with the real economic damage is coming from supply chain misses.
That's also true.
So, PAX East issued a statement about the safety of PAX and everything, and what it basically boils down to is what it boils down to at all conventions. If you're going to PAX, Do the same thing you do at every gaming convention. Don't touch other nerds and don't shake hands with people.
Of course
and
not.
Wash your hands.
Even if you're not going to get the coronavirus at PAX.
You're going to get the flu.
You could get anything at PAX, right? There was swine flu at PAX.
Yeah,
That
a
would
bunch
really
of our
happen.
friends got diagnosed. I remember I was on the phone with Robert Koo listing the flight numbers of our 2 friends that were on it.
Right. It's like, that was a time when swine flu was like in the area already. It wasn't
Well,
it wasn't like, oh, swine flu's in the other side of the world and we got it suddenly in Seattle.
Do you remember that actually one student, I think it was from U of W, who went to PAX, spread it at PAX, and then PAX was actually a
Right,
real
but
vector.
the point is it was already there to begin with.
Well, yeah,
it wasn't like,
it was not widespread there. It was not known to be there.
well, I mean, there was someone who had it there.
Yes, and they didn't know yet. They went
Right.
to. They were sick. They went to PAX. They spread it to a few people, and because it's PAX, it spread to a lot of people at PAX. And then because it was a convention, it spread to much of the coasts,
Right.
like rapidly. PAX was a big part of that spread. So, wash your hands. Don't cough in people's faces. The thing people don't seem to realize. You can, like, those masks are more to protect other people from you, but the real way you get things like this is not so much someone coughing on you, it's don't touch your fucking face after you touch things.
Yep.
Like, if you can just train yourself, and it's really hard to
Oh, yeah.
not
I touched my
touch-
face. Look, I just touched my
Yep.
face.
No, I touch my face all the time.
I
Like,
touched my face.
just think the whole time you're at PAX, don't touch my face. Don't touch my face. Don't put
Right,
salt in my
because
eyes.
basically
Don't put salt in my
the
eyes.
number one place the virus is going to get is on your hands because your hands are always touching shit. You're touching cards that you pass around the table. You're touching arms on chairs. You're touching tables. You're touching all kinds of shit. Subway poles, some railings on escalators. Those are the worst, right? You're touching the flushers in the toilet. You're touching all kinds of shit, and your hands are disgusting even if you just wash them, right? It's all kinds of, the hands have the
Yep.
most disgusting stuff on them, right? The rest of your body's covered in clothes, right? You're not, how often are you touching something with your knee or your elbow, right? Not as much as
Yep.
with your hand.
But it's the hand
nothing
to-
can get into your body if it's just on your hand, unless you got a big cut on your hand or something.
But it's
right?
hand
There's no
to-
hole.
It's specifically hand to mucous membrane, hand
Right.
to face. That is how most people
Right.
get
There's no
colds.
way for the virus to get from the hand into the body easily. But as soon as you put the hand on the face, it's like, let me bring the most disgusting stuff that I've collected and put it right
Yep.
near the entry hole into my body. Right? And that's how
Yep.
you get in trouble. So just don't touch your face.
So-
don't let other people touch your face.
Wash your hands like often, like however often you think you need to wash your hands, just wash it. Just do it more often.
I already wash my hands at PAX like crazy.
Yep.
Pretty much every time.
and however long
near
you
a hand
think you
washer.
need to wash your hands, like how long they need to be underwater, just double
Oh
it.
yeah, learn to wash your hands properly. Go to YouTube, watch a video
Yep.
on hand washing. Friction is the most important factor in hand washing.
Yep. I remember when I worked in the hospital, I had to take classes on like how to wash my hands.
Yeah,
and
you
then-
ever see a doctor wash their hands before surgery?
Yep.
Right? They're mostly scrubbing. Right?
Oh, and then when I worked in the
soap
neonatal
is
ward for a
mostly
little
to help
while,
scrubbing.
I worked in a NICU for a while, like an infant, like premature baby, like intensive
And they make you
area.
wash your hands like crazy. In
Oh,
there.
you
Wear 10 gloves.
the procedure.
And don't touch the bibis.
Because I wasn't trained in how to like prepare to enter that area, I had to have a nurse escort me and wash with me every time I went into that room. Imagine like 7 minutes of scrubbing on your hands and arms before you can even walk into a room.
Yep.
So,
because I mean, a baby gets sick, they done.
Yep.
So
so if
it's
you
like
think-
you get a cold. It's like, all right, you got a cold. Brand new baby.
and if someone tries to shake hands with you at a convention, just don't. Like, elbow bump is way better. Like, don't touch people's grubby hands for all the reasons we just described.
Yep. This is not news.
In fact, official advice from Penny Arcade: do not let a stranger's weeping pustules drip into your urethra.
Yep.
So remember that. Just
Really,
keep-
entering through the urethra would be pretty hard for a virus. I feel like it's more likely to.
all I'm gonna say is wash your hands before you jack it. If you're at PAX and you're the kind of person who jacks it at PAX.
You just jack it not in the front.
Yeah, but I feel like the rosy palm is a very important technique.
You could
and I
also
feel
jack
like,
it in the shower where you're washing your hand and jacking it simultaneously.
oh yeah, that could work.
I don't really know anywhere else at PAX to jack it besides the
Please
shower.
do not jack it in the shower if you are rooming with other people at PAX.
Well, it depends.
I have not jacked it in a shower when like we've been at a con together.
No, I haven't either. But
Okay, I was worried. There was an implication in what you just said.
No, I'm just saying. It's
I was just making sure.
I'm just
making
saying,
sure.
like, all right, they're in the shower. They're in there for a few extra minutes. If they wash it away, if someone did, I wouldn't be like upset unless they did it in a improper fashion.
They leave some Ishi the
Yeah,
killer.
if there's any leftovers, that's a problem, right? If if they're in the shower too long, that's a problem.
or if you hear it.
Right, that would also be at least. It would just be like, come on, man. It wouldn't like disturb me personally, but I would imagine it would be very impolite to many other people. Whereas I would just be like, come on.
Someone in the chat just pointed out we have just done a sequel to the best episode of Geek Nights.
Okay, sure.
I'd leave it to the imagination. You can search for that episode. It's about.
I mean, it's definitely more polite to be doing it in the shower when
than say in the expo hall
or in your bed when the people are sleeping in the adjacent bed or same bed.
Someone also did point out, I guess they have knowledge, Nintendo does have regionally specific marketing teams.
I mean, that's true.
That's probably the main reason why Nintendo has not pulled out of anything yet.
Yeah.
So, in some final news, this is just the most wholesome thing, and I love it. If you're not aware,
everybody is aware.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
If you're not aware, how are you aware of Geek Nights? Geek Nights is super obscure.
Just in case, Animal Crossing and Doom are going to be released on the same day.
Yeah, well, it's actually like a sequel to the new Doom.
Yeah.
Which was a good game.
New Doom was a great game.
Yeah.
If we didn't review it, I feel like we should.
I beat it.
Yeah.
There's
a VR version that I tried that's actually real good.
It's just the same game, though?
It's real intense in VR.
All right.
Like, almost too intense.
Okay.
Also, really gross.
I mean, it's gross no matter what.
Yeah, so you think it's gross when you're doing it on a screen, but when you're like in the viscera, anyway, like even I was like, whoo.
Okay.
So, the fandoms of these two games overlap more than you might expect.
Or not at all.
I think they do overlap. I know some people who like both these games. And there is a lot of fan art and discussion between these two communities that is just delightful.
Well, it's like their games are releasing on the same day, and I think somebody made, I don't know which one was the first.
The first one I saw
the first one you saw wasn't the first one that was made.
No, but the first one I saw was the one that was Isabel sitting on Doom Guy's shoulder. And
it's also the first one I saw.
Yep, and it was just like rip and tear until it's done.
Right, so someone made, a meme crossing them over, and I guess, all the creative people in the universe on the internet were like, oh, that's great. And they started, riffing on that theme, and they just keep on riffing because it's a really great mix and it doesn't get old. Two great tastes. It tastes great together. Why stop now? Wait and keep going till it's spent because you're not going to be able to redo this one. It's not like Animal Crossing for the next Nintendo console and the next Doom are also going to release on the same day. Unless, they're so intelligent that they do that on purpose in like 3 or 4 years from now, whenever. But, it could be a much longer time than that because how long since the last Animal Crossing?
Yeah. Thing is, I like everything about Animal Crossing except I don't actually like playing the games. Like, I like the aesthetic, I like the music, I like the fandom. I just don't actually enjoy the game.
I've seen a lot of Animal Crossing and know a lot of Animal Crossing. I've actually never actually played or bought Animal Crossing.
We could both play the new one and review it.
It's a lot of money, though. I feel that's the main reason not to.
Yeah. Anyway. It's time for Things of the Day. So, I have to hate a man by the name of Alexander Ovechkin.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to hate that guy.
Because he is on the enemy team.
Yep.
But I also have to deeply respect him.
He's on several enemy teams.
As literally,
I can think of at least 3 enemy teams he's on.
You'll see that my Thing of the Day will cover that. He is also one of the best hockey players in history.
Nah, that's true. Also.
Like the man is a legend. He's not number one, but he is a legend. He will go down in history, and his career ain't even done yet.
Nope.
Like the man is just a hockey god. So he recently set a record. He has scored 700 goals in his career.
That's a lot of goals.
That is a lot. Remember, it's hockey, a sport where games will end like 0-0 and go into overtime.
Well, lately scores being up and down over time.
Yep.
But yes, you don't score a lot of goals in a game per team. If you're an individual hockey player, most games you score 0 goals.
Yep, maybe you get an assist.
If you score a point a game, and a point is an assist or a goal, right? If you score a point a game, that's
already amazing.
That is considered fantastic. You're a star player.
Yep.
Right? And that's not even a goal a game. If you score a goal a game, you're a legend.
Yep.
And even if you scored a goal a game, you would get 80-something goals a year.
There's a reason.
So to get to 700 goals,
there's a reason
you would have to score a goal a game for like almost 10 years.
There's a reason the hat trick exists. People will throw their $40 hat away if someone scores 3 goals in a single game because
Yep.
it's so crazy when it happens.
Yep.
So this video
It's like
is
2 goals. It's like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yup.
But 3 in one game, holy shit!
So
For
this
one
video-
person.
was put out a couple days ago by the NHL. It's an official video, and it is just a supercut of every single Ovechkin goal, like just the goal with like very little context, and it is almost 13 minutes long.
Yep.
It's mesmerizing, especially because if you don't-
90% of them are him in the same spot. Just going, bam.
I was about to say it's him in his office. I want to make a supercut that just is him from the office.
You just want to
scoring.
remove all the non-office goals.
Yep.
Yeah.
He basically, it's like 80%
So
of them.
if people don't know enough about hockey, basically this is one spot on like the circle where Ovechkin always stands. And whenever I've seen him play live, you see him. He just sort of skates around there. And sometimes your team is smart and has a defenseman just hanging near him.
Yep.
And sometimes
and
your
that
team
person's
is.
sole job is to keep him from scoring a goal, like just
And
him.
sometimes your team is stupid and he stands there all alone. He just stands there waiting for his teammate to pass him the puck. And as soon when the puck's coming towards him, he just digs a one-timer right at the goal. And he's just practiced it so much.
I clicked on a
It goes in a lot of the time. Even though the goalie knows it's coming from there, the goalie's got to pay attention to where the puck is,
Yep.
not to where Ovechkin is.
The only times I've watched
necessarily.
a Rangers game, let's say, and it's just like, he's there, he's there.
He's standing in the spot. Don't let anyone pass the puck to him when he's standing in the spot. Stand in between him and the goal when he's in the spot. How hard is this? I can see it from here, and I'm not even a professional. You're paid millions of dollars a year to do this. Just one guy you got to worry about. What's wrong with you?
The latest comment on the video, he scored on the Atlanta Thrashers so much they became extinct.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So what do you got?
What do I have? So quite a long time ago, many years ago, we did. When I was a kid, I had a toy called Marble Works, which is a bunch of plastic pieces you would put together, and then
I had that.
you drop marbles on the top, and they would race to the bottom, right, through a series of things. It's a very similar hobby that is related to like setting up dominoes and watching them fall.
Yep.
So here's
I was also into dominoes, weirdly.
and then we did a thing of the day quite a long time ago about this Marble Olympics, which someone made these YouTube videos of marbles, competing with each other as if the marbles were people, right?
What was fascinating about that video was that it was almost as exciting as real sports, like on this particular wavelength.
Right. So here is a video sponsored by a company that sells bulk dominoes.
Yeah.
That is Marbula One. It is brand new, and they basically did extremely high production values of marbles racing around this Grand Prix track. Playing it totally straight as if it's a real race, a real sport. The marbles are on real teams. They have real names. They're actually competing. It's somewhat thrilling like a real sport. But really, this is thing of the day because the production value is so insanely high.
If you're willing to put, just to play this straight, that is
Yep.
amazing.
They even put like marbles in the grandstands
Yup,
and
yup.
animated them, and they called the whole thing as if it was real. And they're commentating, and it's something to see. Props to whoever put this together.
I wonder how many. Oh, your camera flipped over. I wonder how many takes it took for them to not crack up doing the commentary on these marbles.
It's just one person doing it. so.
Yeah. So, in that moment, we're going to be at PAX. It's happening.
It's today is what? We're recording this on Tuesday. Most people will probably listen on Wednesday.
By this time tomorrow, I will
PAX
already be
starts-
in pre-tabletop playing a board game.
February 27th, PAX East 2020 is happening.
And there is official gaming in the hotel before PAX tomorrow.
Wednesday night, the 23rd, the 26th. Yeah.
Yep.
Pre-PAX hotel gaming official.
Basically, almost our entire crew
Official-ish.
will be enforcing in the evening shift. So we'll be playing games all day, and then around 6 o'clock, we'll disappear.
Are we getting a panel though, or are we just getting a free enforcing badge?
We are doing one panel.
So yet again, for every single PAX I've been to, every single time, I've been given a panel for some reason.
Yep.
All right.
We are moderately popular at PAX. So we're doing a reiteration with slight updates of take your fucking turn
We
on
did this
Saturday.
panel at PAX Unplugged. You can watch it on YouTube right the hell now. You don't need to waste an hour of your precious PAX East time going to this panel. Or you can. I don't know why you would, but I guess I can't stop you, just like I can't stop you from listening to this podcast in the first place.
But you can send your friend who takes too long on their turn to come to our panel
you
as
can
punishment.
send them to YouTube too.
No, send them to our panel so you punish them and make them spend more time.
Why are you such a mean person?
They took more than 30 seconds to take their turn in a game like Settlers. They
So
have
just hit
robbed
them and
me.
then make them watch a YouTube video.
Yeah,
and if they try to walk away from the YouTube video, hit them.
There's more peer pressure. People don't like to walk out of panels, even bad ones at conventions.
Hit him.
I love that slide. I get the laugh every time of just the fist.
Yeah.
I paid for that stock image.
Okay.
It was a really good fist.
This is why don't give him Patreon money. He'll use it on stock images of fists.
I have bought like 4 stock images of fists. Oh, I should replace it with the statue of at Joe Louis Arena.
Joe Lewis's fist.
Joe Louis's fist. That is literally in my top 5 favorite statues of all time.
It's not bad.
It's just a giant statue of his fist, nothing else.
Uh-huh.
Also, you might have known, we review board games on
If Joe
GeekNights.
Lewis punched you, you would take your fucking turn.
If Joe Louis punched me, I wouldn't take my turn because I would be dead.
Yeah. You'd be playing a lot of board games up in the good place.
So we've
And
done.
people take their turn up there.
We have reviewed a lot of board games on GeekNights in the last 15 years.
Oh, yeah.
And I have been taking, and I've been doing this for a while, so there's 65 of them on YouTube now. I've been taking just the reviews without like the opening crap and the thing of the day.
Because that's the thing, the format of GeekNights, which may change at any time, but the format as it has been for a zillion years is do a bunch of bullshit first, like the bullshit we're doing right now, and then actually talk about the fucking topic. Just like when you watch a late show on TV and it's like, a bunch of bullshit at the start of the show and then they interview the celebrity at the end.
But if you're reading a recipe, you don't want like my year in Sardinia before they tell you how to make some food.
Right, exactly. So if you want to hear just the main bit where we talk about the board game, they're on YouTube somewhere.
65 of them. There's a playlist of all of them, and I'm adding like regularly. I'm going through the back catalog. Eventually, every board game we've ever reviewed will be here as a standalone review with like images and everything. It's a whole thing. Yeah.
The book club book is...
The book club book is...
Tale of Genji. I'm
Yep.
still reading it on the subway, slowly. It's long. Takes a while to read it.
I'm enjoying it.
I'll read some on my way to PAX and on the way back.
I continue to be more interested in everyone but Genji.
Yep.
It's definitely a Genji Muyo situation.
Genji Muyo. That's the first novel that has ever been written. Novel. Not the first fiction, first novel.
First novel.
Yep. So I figured that makes it important to read, so we're reading it.
Yep, and before we get into the main bit, because a friend of ours who was also very much into the randomizers pointed out something interesting and important. Send your friend to the panel so you can play a quick game without them at PAX.
Oh, the slow person. Okay.
Yeah. So, randomizers have been a thing, and I feel like there are only two, like, people either like know the deal or have never heard of this.
Or, the people who like have heard of it, but like they didn't actually, like for me, I knew about it way long ago, years ago, right? But not until the past few months did I actually look closer and was like,
well, because I feel like the progression
right? It's
is...
like, you sort of understand it, like, okay, I get what's going on there. All right, whatever.
Yep.
I get the idea.
But then eventually, like, someone says, like, something like a different format, and they're like, oh, wonder how they do those formats. And then you kind of want to play one, and then you're dragged in and you figure it all out.
Right. So basically the deal is, right, there are a lot of video games out there, especially these days, that are procedurally generated or randomized in some way. Even board games, right? You start with a random map. Why do we do this? Because we don't want to randomize the game, right, so that one player has an advantage or disadvantage because of luck, but we want to use luck and randomness in our games to get a different experience each time we play so we don't get bored and play the exact same thing every time.
Slay the Spire is great because I don't know what's coming.
Roguelikes are pretty much the first games to capitalize on this idea, hardcore-wise. But, Minecraft does it. Even Puerto Rico does it. The plantations are different every time, just a little bit, right? So what the idea of a randomizer is like, okay, we got all these new games we've made that are random and have tons of replay value. But what if, these games aren't the best games there ever were, right? The best games there ever were are games like Super Metroid or Link to the Past or Mario.
To be a little less old man Scott about it, I'd just say more that there's a lot of reasons why this particular era of games is most suited to this randomizer thing.
Oh, that's also true. The best games that ever were also happen to be extremely suited to being randomized.
But it's partly that now recently we've seen some, like there was the remake of Link to the Past, or not Link to the Past, of Link's Awakening, so people can play this game, but there aren't that many good Zelda games, for example. Like, you can have played them all and memorized them all, and then just fuck you. There aren't more of these games to play, and the indie ones tend to not be that good. So now you're just sort of playing the same game over and over again,
Right.
slowly going crazy.
Right, especially the single-player games, right, where you're exploring an environment, especially something like that. It's like they become the first time you play the game, right? You know, I always say how there's no spoilers or bullshit for movies, right? But spoilers are not bullshit for a game like Zelda or Super Metroid or something, right? Because the first time you play, assuming you haven't like read a map or spoiled it, right? You're exploring and learning and discovering and solving puzzles, right? If you have a crossword puzzle, right, the first time you do it, you're looking at the clues and you're trying to figure out their meaning. The second time you do it, you just remember that word was in that spot. It is now a completely fundamentally a different activity. It becomes a knowledge-based activity and not a, trivia-based activity. You're using a completely different part of your brain in a completely different way. The second or third time you do something, it becomes all about knowledge and not about skills as much or about anything else.
But what you get out of it is different too. Like, you might be like getting nostalgia. Like, you want to play a Final Fantasy 1 again, but you don't want to just play Final Fantasy 1 again, but you want that feeling of playing Final Fantasy 1.
Right. So if you play Final Fantasy 1 again, it's like, well, it doesn't change on you, but let's randomize it. Different bad guys, items are in different places, people say different things, different towns. You can, because these are such simple pieces of software, we can emulate all of them. It's really easy to take a piece, right, to go in and look into that ROM and figure out which pieces of memory represent what and shuffle them around.
Yep. But I think there's a lot more going on here in terms of like why it became such a big thing, because it's not just play a randomized version of Zelda. Like, most people who are into this community, it's overlapped with speedrunners and competitive gaming.
Oh, yeah.
People want it to be a competition. I'll race. I think it came out of a lot of this, the like Link to the Past and Final Fantasy like races that would happen, like speedrunners racing.
Yes. Speedrunning is definitely the competitive element to the randomizers, right? So the randomizers themselves are great for that replay value and eliminating knowledge game sort of thing.
Yep.
Right? But competitive wise, it's like, okay, people were already speed running a game like Zelda or Super Metroid, right? But it's the same damn game every time. They find ways to make it faster, but it's all about improving your execution, right? They're all working together to share the knowledge of how to do it the fastest.
Yep.
It's all about who can actually push the buttons the most precisely, right? All in one go.
Yep. So these things end up being like serious players. It's all about like, can you do the frame perfect tricks you need to do? And independently, do you know the game well enough to know all the locations and the kinds of things you might need? And then you compete in this kind of randomy world with all these other people.
Right. By bringing the randomizer into the speed run, you're still testing the execution, right? Because when like you have to fight a boss, well, you have to be good at fighting that boss.
But now there's a
right?
bigger risk
How
reward
fast
calculus.
can you beat Ganon, right?
You can press your luck. Like in Free Enterprise, the Final Fantasy IV one, it's like, does someone go to the moon early and risk it? Like, what if the enemy needs up there and straight to Zeromas and it's awesome?
Because you don't know where anything is, you actually have to think and make different decisions. And now decision-making and not just execution come into play, and you can test the broader set of skills, right? Some of your knowledge is still tested, right? It's just not purely knowledge, right? It's like you still need to know, like, with this item I can go to these places, right? Versus this is I memorized the exact path. It's almost like there's a maze that's been shuffled, and and it's not a straight maze of go from beginning to end. It's all right, you can enter the maze, but you can't get to the end. It's locked. It's basically the equivalent game to Wolfenstein 3D, where you have to get keys to open doors, to get keys to open doors, to get to the exit. It's the same exact game as that.
So imagine if you're doing a Wolfenstein race.
Right, it's a Wolfenstein race, but it's a brand new map you've never seen before every single time. And you know that, like, if I get a yellow key, then that means that I can I can go east, right? And if I get a blue key, I can go west. But it's still not 100% the same every time. So there's some knowledge plays into it. Some of your execution skills still play into it. It's still fighting the same bosses, the same enemies, but the enemies might be in different places. They might, different weapons. But some of your skills still matter. But everything else is shuffled up, so you're getting a brand new experience every time. You still feel it feels way more fun to do, and you test all those things as well as the additional test of figuring out the optimal, figuring out
Yep.
on the fly the optimal path instead of having a memorized optimal path.
And it is definitely like a little bit performative in the sense that like Final Fantasy IV, like the randomizer I like the most is the Final Fantasy IV one, partly because Final Fantasy IV is a game that I know inside and out. So it lets me apply this completely useless knowledge from my childhood into a current hobby.
Yep.
But like what that does mean is that it's really hard to enjoy a randomizer if you don't know the game, the actual original game, like to an obsessive childhood degree.
I don't know about that. It depends, right, on the exact game. And
Like,
how-
I would not play the Link to the Past randomizers of any kind until you had beaten Link to the Past at least twice, like all the way through.
You should definitely beat it with the normal mode before
Yup.
you play a randomizer. But I think even if you've never played it, you can still watch and enjoy the randomizer.
Oh, you can definitely watch and enjoy, but
yeah,
it's
playing would be too difficult.
But you lose a
they
lot.
They do have easy modes. Like a lot of the randomizers, when you randomize, there's all sorts of choices of what exactly you're randomizing and how
Yep.
much.
There's like website generators you can use.
And the Link to the Past was the one that gets mentioned the most because it's the one that's been developed the most thoroughly. They're on
Yep.
version like 32 or something, right?
Yep.
They've been honing that. That's the sharpest knife of all the randomizer knives.
Final Fantasy IV is pretty tight too.
Yeah, and there are just so many options, but they do have like easy modes, right? So, for example, the Super Metroid one, right? There's a glitch in Super Metroid called the Mach Ball that lets you get under these gates and go to, I think, into Brinstar without without having to fight the plant boss or the spore spawn, whatever, right?
Oh yeah, because you never see anyone fight that in a speedrun.
Right, you watch a speed run, no one ever fights the spore spawn because they do the Mach Ball, right? I've tried to do the Mach Ball, I can't do it. It's too hard because I'm an old man.
Yep.
Right? But you can, when you're making a Super Metroid randomized ROM, you can choose, say, okay, put the items, when you're randomizing them, make sure that you don't put an item, in such a way that means I can't complete the game without doing Mach Ball.
Yep.
Or you can say, actually, you know what? Put the items, I can do Mach Ball. You put the items wherever you feel like. I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same thing for all the other randomizers I've seen. They let you customize how random it's going to be. And that actually plays into how you play the randomizer because you go, all right, I just got, I haven't gotten a super missile yet.
Yep.
Right? These places are unreachable by super missile. Therefore, there must be a super missile in one of these 5 places because those are the only 5 places I haven't checked, right, that are accessible right now with the items I have. What route do I take to check those places most efficiently, right? And that's where the skill of randomizer comes in.
Yep. And I think like my progression was I saw them like on speedrunners channels first.
Yep.
Like I saw speedrunners.
That's where I
doing
see them the
randomizers.
most, yeah.
And I was like interested, partly because like as much as I love RPG speedruns, I've seen like the world record runs of all these games. So there's not like they're all the same now.
Yep.
Unless it's like an AGDQ where like there's good commentary and a couch and all that. But like I've seen these games to the point that I don't need to watch them again. So I started watching the Free Enterprise Final Fantasy IV ones because it just gave me this like kind of exciting speed run or race that I can't get. Like watching a Final Fantasy IV race straight is not that fun because either they're neck and neck the whole time or one person falls behind and it's over.
Right. Even Formula One, funny that my thing of the day was Marbula One, right? They have mostly the same tracks every year, right? And even though they change tracks race to race, which keeps it interesting and varied, right? It's still year to year. It's kind of, all right,
Yep.
we're back at Monaco again, which is
Yep.
still a great track, but whatever, right? Imagine if Formula One, literally, they show up at the track in a car and an unknown track appears before them. Like they're driving, they don't even know what the next turn is, left or right, or
Yep.
how close it is, or if it's a hairpin or anything. They're going to drive around the track mad slow, right? And learn the
Yep.
track and then speed up. And then you have like the competition is now not just who fine-tuned their car for that track, knowing everything going in and had the best practice and is the best at that track. It's who's good at learning tracks.
Yeah.
How fast can you learn a track? You might be the fastest driver when it comes to tracks everyone already knows, But if you had to learn a track straight up, maybe there's someone else who learns faster and they would be better at
or
that.
just
than
has
you.
more raw racing skills.
Right, or there's also a luck factor though. Maybe someone's really good at high speed tracks and they're good when there's like a long straightaway and it randomly happens to be a track that suits their style.
Or
right?
maybe someone's falling behind, because one thing that all these randomizers have that makes the races so much fun and why I'm actually really into them is you can press your luck in a way that you can't do in a normal speedrun race. If you're falling behind, take a risk.
Yep.
Take a big risk.
Well, it's like watching it is sort of like gives the spectator the feeling of scratching a bunch of lottery tickets.
Yep.
Right? Every time they open a chest, it's like, ooh, what's it going to be? It could just be some garbage or it
like,
could be the best item.
to get back to your race analogy, I'm way behind in the F1 like randomizer track. Maybe I just accelerate hard into a corner and just hope that there isn't a chicane right on the other side.
Yep.
Like, I'll go for it. I'm behind anyway. Worst case, I explode and die. But if it's a straightaway, I might catch up.
Yep. So some of these randomizer things out there have really pushed the limits of what they're randomizing.
Yeah.
And sometimes to good extent, but sometimes to questionable extent, right? So, for example, there's a lot of multi-world things going on, right? So there's two different kinds of multi-world cross games going on. So one of them is there's this thing. It just so happens, apparently by luck, that the two biggest randomizer games, Super Metroid and Link to the Past, right? For some reason, one of them takes up one half of the Super Nintendo cartridge, and the other one takes up the other half. They're both the same chips in the cartridge.
Yep.
Just memory-wise, one is on one half, one's on the other. So you could put both games in the same cartridge, and they don't really overlap each other. So they made it. They hacked it up. It's Super Metroid Link to the Past Randomizer. This useless...
That feels very chess boxing.
Oh, yes. It's very chess boxing. Not only... You're playing Link to the Past. You walk into like a door you would never go in, like I think it's like the fortune teller's hut, like a useless place to go.
Yep.
And you walk in, and suddenly Samus walks out a door, and you're in Super Metroid. And then Samus goes and fights a boss, and goes. There's a Chozo statue. They shoot the ball on the Chozo statue, and it's like a hook shot.
Yep.
And they grab the hook shot. And now Samus goes in a door that goes to like a map room, a useless place for Samus to go, right? You don't need a map room.
Yeah.
And suddenly Link comes out in Hyrule with a hook shot, right? And then Link goes and opens a treasure chest, and it's a super missile.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's crazy, right? There's like actually very few, it's amazing to watch. There are very few humans who can actually play it. Right? That's
thing,
like they have a problem in the competitive scene that there's like not enough people who can actually play this damn thing.
Yep.
Right? And then at least, and especially not to a competitive level. And then the other kind is they've got these multi-world things where, okay, I'll play some Link to the Past and you play some Link to the Past, right? And we're gonna generate ROMs together. And I'll give you ROM A and I'll take ROM B, and we're gonna connect our emulators to the internet. And when I pick up, I see an arrow, and I pick up the arrows lying on the ground, and it's sometimes am I just like, oh, that was your arrow. Sometimes it was Rim's arrow, and it's randomized it in such a way that the game is beatable, right? It actually logically figures out, okay, we'll put all these items in a place such that all these people can beat the game. Someone was playing like 100-player randomizers.
Whoa.
And like, if you forfeit and quit, it just takes all the items that are in your game and gives them to the people they belong to because you quit. So that way they can beat the game still.
What if someone who has your item just sucks?
They'll hopefully quit.
So
Right.
if I suck and I just keep on keeping on, I'm just hoarding these items.
I might just end up waiting for someone to find my stuff, and I won't have any locations left to check
That's
until
part of the,
somebody finds my item.
We're past like the early like bleeding edge of this, and we're getting into like more of a plateau where the randomizers that I think are the most popular and doing the best are the ones where game design decisions are being made by the community, and it's starting to coalesce into like the right number of people who have the right sensibility to make these work.
Yep.
Like, I want to give you an example of that because the Link to the Past randomizer, and there's a little fact here that explains what has changed from the original game. I want to read some of these for you just to give you a sense of like how the community has decided to alter the games just to make this work so it isn't just random bullshit that isn't fun.
Yep.
You're guaranteed to get the digging game item by the 30th dig.
Yep.
You're guaranteed to get the Village of Outcast chest item on the first attempt. The pyramid and waterfall wishing fairies no longer upgrade your items. Instead, the caves contain 2 chests, each of which account for the usual upgrades. Like, that's the kind of work people are doing to make this work.
Yeah, it's also once you've played the randomized versions of a lot of these games also, they cut out, because it's mostly speedrunning people who have speedrunning interests making these, they cut out a lot of the time-wasting bullshit. So it's actually much more, it's almost like a convenient version of the game. Like, fast text, very minimal text. I don't have to wait through cutscenes. They've been removed. This is great. It's like you don't really, if you go back and play the original game, you're like, why is this so inconvenient?
Come on, just give me the sword. Give me the sword. Just give me the fucking sword. Let me go.
Right.
Puff, puff, puff.
Also, the thing is, some of these randomized type things, right? Sometimes, because it's been randomized, the game can end up way easy. You get the dream, right? It's like, okay, you start playing a game, and it's like, guess what? You got the super powerful weapon, right, immediately. The game's now going to be way easy and fun, and that's hella fun. No denying that. But sometimes you play this, and it's like, all right, it's been 50 minutes. I've checked a million places, and I don't even have a sword yet. And I have to go and fight these bad guys with bombs, and I have to beat there's no item left for me to get except for this boss who has an item. I have to fight them with my bow and arrow.
Yep.
Right? There's all kinds of crazy shit like that goes on in randomizers.
It's got a little bit of a feeling of like old Atari games that have a million modes. Like there's a million modes in these randomizers, but honestly, unless you get like too deep, like to where your predilections become increasingly esoteric, I suggest you stick to the types of randomizations that the community tends to support.
Yeah, and you just for the super pro ones, right? Either level your skills way up to play those,
or watch the pros,
or just watch pros and don't bother.
Yep. The Final Fantasy one, what I love the most about it is like the game design changes. You can go anywhere. Like imagine you start with the airship, and there's a bunch of changes, but you can fight. Like when you go to where a boss would be, depending on how you randomize it, either any boss is there, but whatever boss is there has the level equivalent of the boss that should be there.
Yep.
So you might fight.
I go to the first boss in the game. It might be the last boss in the game.
Yep. It might
with the stats of the first boss in the game.
So you might fight Rubicante, but he sucks, or you might fight the Mist Dragon in the giant robot, and it's a dangerous fucking Mist Dragon.
Yep.
You better actually know how to fight that Mist Dragon.
Yeah, it's because like in the actual regular game, you don't really have to know.
Yeah,
right?
like you don't have to worry about like how do I deal with Rubicante if like we're all level 1 and his spells suck, but I also suck. Like you don't have to think about that kind of situation.
It gives you all these new challenges, right? And that's the thing is like I was saying before, these are the greatest games there are. It's like it would be really hard to make a brand new game as good as any of these legendary games. Right? It'd basically be like...
And some of that's not game design. It's more like it's a genre that doesn't make sense anymore for like modern sensibilities.
I'm just saying, it's like it's tough to beat the best of the best, right?
I mean, there's a reason there's only one Chrono Trigger game. Like no one's made a game like that ever again that was popular.
No. But somehow we can get more playability out of those old games. That's really hard for any new game, even a completely fresh one, to compete with.
Yeah, people are fucking talking about... Like, people younger than me are talking about Final Fantasy IV because of this. Like, that excites me as someone who is old and likes Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah, so every day more and more games are getting randomized. There's been Crystallis randomizers.
The Crystallis one, as much as I wanted to like it, Crystallis is not a good game for that.
I'm just saying, there's Mario 64 randomizers. Different games lend themselves to randomization better or worse than others.
Like, I feel like more drastic changes need to be made to make some of these viable. Like Crystallis, I think they need to somehow like remove the grind to make it about map navigation primarily. Map navigation and combat, like stuff like that.
Right, but also if the games aren't that great to begin with, like a randomizing for Xanadu isn't really gonna make it any better.
Ooh, what about Dr. Chaos?
You could do a randomized Dr. Chaos very easily,
that could be
but
pretty
Dr.
good.
Chaos basically is already a randomizer.
I know, Dr. Chaos actually is very, like...
It's not random at all, but it's just, it feels like, if you've never played it before, it feels like playing a randomizer.
I feel like I'd just take a speed run of Dr. Chaos as is and just post it and pretend it's a randomizer and people wouldn't know.
It would be an easy game to randomize.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a demand for that.
Mm-mm.
I don't think anyone remembers that game but us.
Yeah, I don't know. So here's the thing is like if you're someone who makes games, right, from that perspective, if someone made a randomizer of your game, right? It's sort of like, I don't know how to feel about that. It's like you could have just done that yourself and then made your game more popular that way.
Yep.
But also,
I think most randomizers will never become popular.
all right.
And it's going to come down to, like, the real takeaway, I think, is that randomizers are scratching an itch that the world and the entire game industry just, like, did not even recognize was there in any meaningful way. And it came into the scene completely sideways.
Right. Well, I kept saying for how many years? It's like, how come you don't make more of the thing that everyone already loves? You keep making new, different things. You know, we want some, not too much, right? But some more of the same. Repeat yourself maybe at least one time. Nintendo is making another Breath of the Wild kind of deal.
Yeah.
So that seems like maybe they got the clue. It's like, yeah, if you get a hit, let us hit one or two more times, and then it'll get stale. Then do something. Then move on. Right?
I need some more. Give me more Mario 3.
Right, but shit like, shit that was so good that has never been repeated. It's like, well, now we can do it. Right?
But I think there's a broader takeaway that I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel like something from this randomizer community, not now, I think it's going to be years. I feel like the esport that really takes off is going to be, it's going to take some elements from what is popular about these randomizers coupled with things we haven't envisioned yet. And I feel like the esport is not here yet, and this is one of the things.
I mean, the most basic thing, right, is to take, say, a common esport like FPS battle,
Yep.
right? And it's like, how come we don't got, it's like we have procedurally generated games, and we use them for roguelikes. We're now procedurally sort of manipulating older games, right, to get these single-player experiences. Where is the procedurally generated multiplayer experience? Right? How come there isn't like Quake on a random map you've never seen before because a computer just made it?
Yep.
How come that doesn't exist? I haven't seen it. It might exist, but I haven't seen it.
Well, like
Such a
imagine the
simple
DDR
idea.
competition where it's a song no one's ever heard before.
Song no one's ever heard before, arrows never seen before. Go.
Yep. And then the game is just
completely different skill than regular DDR.
Yep. I am way better at that than I am at like
I am so much better at that than I am at better in real DDR. Way better.
But the takeaway might end up being the random part in the sense that people can come back from behind. I know coming back isn't actually a thing, but like you can press your luck and like that's something that doesn't really exist in a lot of the current esports. There's very little press your luck that is effective in esports.
Well,
and
you can't press your luck when there's no luck, right? A lot of these other games, like I said, when they're knowledge and skill-based only, it's not about luck. It's about how well did you execute on that day.
But meanwhile, look at
the
hockey.
randomizer, right, the randomizer is still skill and knowledge still matter a lot. If you don't have them, you're not going to win.
In fact, you need them to know when and how to press your luck.
Right, but luck does suddenly come into it when it's a competition, at least, and not a, you just playing, Zelda again to and making it more fun by, mixing it up and not just playing the same exact game again.
But that luck is what makes it a spectator sport, and I think that is why randomizers took off. It's that they're fun for the people who play them.
And fun for the people who watch them.
Yep. But
and
also
you don't get old, right? And it's just so, this perfect
There's
storm.
no three true outcomes like baseball.
There are not.
But think of it like hockey. Hockey has you can pull your fucking goalie if you want.
Yep.
And that adds so much excitement. Most of the good randomizers, like people do the equivalent of pull their goalie.
Oh, yeah. I see it pretty much every time I
Yep.
watch a speedrunning competition of any game.
Yep.
I see some sort of goalie pulling because you naturally...
I saw someone get in that fucking whale and go to the moon and no one else was on the moon.
You can't necessarily tell how the other players are doing. You just had to... It's like, do I feel behind or do I feel ahead?
Yep.
Am I doing well or doing worse? Well, how much time is on the clock? How many items do I have? How much have I made progress, right?
Now imagine playing this in like a stadium.
Yep.
And you can't see the other screens. Like, you're just doing your randomizer, and suddenly the crowd starts going crazy, and you didn't do anything.
Well, that's why you can't hear the crowd either.
Yeah, but that might actually make it even more exciting. Like, suddenly you see the other three players.
That is actually a negative of the competitive speedrunning scene, is that there's a big taboo about calling anyone out for cheating without evidence, and usually all the ones I've seen stream have like 20+ minute delays on the streams, is because... if we're racing, me and Rim are racing in a randomizer, and I go right and Rim goes left, right? If I can see what Rim's up to, I see he gets the hammer. Well, I just stop what I'm doing. I go left.
Yep.
Right? It's
or if he sees that I'm falling behind, he knows that he doesn't have to be that risky. Like
right,
you can play them a little
exactly.
more conservatively.
Not knowing, you both have this, because when you're competing, you basically make the same exact random seed for both players. Not knowing what the other, not having any information about the other player is absolutely essential. You must have that wall up like you're playing bridge.
Now that's
otherwise the whole competitive aspect falls apart.
But that's where I wonder if in the further evolution, like way beyond these randomizers now, like esports stuff, will revealing more information about your standing, like your positional heuristic and your opponent, be a net positive or a net negative for the game as a spectator sport in the long run? Right now, it definitely is a net negative for the way randomizers work, but I don't know what the future of game design looks like for that in the future. I said in the future twice there because I'm really hungry.
I'm also really hungry. But yeah, if you have never played a randomized game of any kind, right? I would recommend looking up your favorite games that obviously not the newest games,
like
because
SNES
they can't...
era, NES, SNES era is like the
newest,
sweet spot
even
right now.
N64 games, right? But it's like the newer games are harder to randomize because the date you're basically manipulating. You're looking at the ROM technologically and shuffling the data in the ROM in a logical way to keep the game functioning, but and consistent and beatable. And there's a lot going on there. It's not just like completely random bits, right? And that is only, achievable reasonably, right, with older systems. So think of some of your old favorite games and go out and find a community of people who are playing those games and have a randomizer. Obviously, the more popular games are going to have a bigger community of people.
But if you like an obscure SNES game and like say there's a Pilot Wings randomizer community.
I don't think there is.
No,
there
definitely not. But
could.
say there was. If you're the person who is so obsessed with Pilot Wings and you find the 10 other people who together made a randomizer, you're set.
It works best with games based on items, obviously, right?
Like Link to the Past, there's a lot of reasons why the Link to the Past one is like the iconic one right now.
It's so strange that the Link to the Past one, it's like they didn't make the game to be randomized, but somehow it's as if, it just by chance, that the design of that game with the two worlds in the map is just like it was as you couldn't make a better one if you tried.
Well, this is why I'm so hesitant to predict the future of this space right now. Because
I'm like, why don't we just handcraft a brand new, 2 maps?
Because
for Link to the Past and try to make one that's like handcrafted and better. It's like you couldn't. It's so good.
Because I don't think we still fully understand the extent of like what randomizers are for game design.
It's like less than a roguelike, where a roguelike randomizes everything like crazy. It's like a net hack. It's a whole new dungeon every time. It's like it's only randomizing certain parts.
There are games that do that. Like there are other kinds of like randomized or procedurally generated games, but none of them also have this competitive aspect and the spectator aspect all rolled into one, and the overlap with the speedrunning community. I think randomizers.
I've never seen NetHack. I'm sure there's a NetHack speedrun, but
like the advent of randomizers is something that if you asked me or Scott, like on game design stuff 15 years ago or 10 years ago even, no one could have predicted this.
Yes, this has already been going on for a few years.
Yeah, but no one saw this coming.
I wonder who made like the first one.
Yeah, like
who decided to do that? It was so clever.
Yeah, I feel like what you would find is someone made a ROM hack once and like played it with their friends, and then later the scene started independently.
Right.
At best. But this was like, this is not something that the game design world expected.
Right. It's like there have been ROM hacks for a long time, but like even the best, most polished, awesome ROM hacks weren't, like I guess like the Zelda, what's it called, Under whatever.
Oh yeah,
even some of those really weren't much until now the randomized ROM hack is suddenly a huge deal.
I tried to play that Bastard Zelda or whatever, the really hard one.
Anyway.
Even I was like, how hard could it be? Fuck this.
But yeah, I recommend going to watch and or try to play them. Don't worry if you can't beat them or beat them quickly. Just, pick one that you are familiar with, or maybe, actually, if you haven't actually played any of these legendary games, maybe you should do that first, regardless of what randomizers. But
the two we'll link to is like the Link to the Past one is the one Scott's into, and like most people are into.
That's the big one.
I'll link to the Final Fantasy one because RPG speedruns and RPG randomizers are a very different ball game.
You also want to check Super Metroid, and it's called SMZ3 is, like I said, the combo one where Link to the Past and Super Metroid are joined at the hip, which is just watch that one. You can't play that unless you're mad skilled because both of those games are very hard.
Yep.
They are very hard games. So You got to be mad skilled to be able to beat them both together.
I want to mash up Bionic Commando and anything.
What do you randomize in Bionic Commando?
There are items.
Okay. Are they the same kind of items where like they unlock areas?
They unlock areas. But there's weapons that unlock areas. There's also radio transceivers that unlock areas. And the items, there's a lot of doors, and items can be different places, and doors can go to different places. You can make it work.
All right, go. You do it.
I'm going to look right now before we end the show to see if anyone made a Bionic Commander randomizer.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Nope.
And we're done.
Yeah, so the final